Hi everyone, this is Nikki Rowland and I have a layout to share for Simple Stories using the very beautiful Wildflower collection. Now this is a collaboration between Simple Stories and My Mind's Eye. So just quickly, while that paper was on camera, that blue paper there gave me the inspiration for this layout. It had this geometric hexagonal star style print pattern, and I decided to replicate that by making my own kind of hexagon star with the papers instead. So I've made a very giant oversized element. I've cut hexagons and I've scored two sides of each and folded them up and then stuck them all together. There we are, to make a beautiful star. I love it. I think it looks so beautiful. I've done this before. You kind of sometimes use them as snowflakes. I've made them out of vellum and other things, and I just think it's really very pretty. It doesn't work with everything because it has to be the right kind of patterns, but on this occasion it worked beautifully. So I've made one large one, and then I'm going to make some small ones as well. So you can see I've already got one little hexagon star down on the left, and then I've got loads more cut out, and I'm just going to score them and fold them all now. There we go. As if by magic they are all complete. So I have three small ones, one large one, and then my photos I have also cut into hexagon shapes. Just sticking, I feel that they need, I've used metal dies to cut them out, but I feel that they need a white border. So I have stuck them onto white card, just using my scissors to trim those out, because if I'd used the next sized up metal die to cut them, then the border would have been wider than I wanted it. So I decided that scissors was the best option in this case, and then I'm just going to distress the edges so that you can hide all of my wonky scissor work. So just going to quickly distress the edges of those now. And then I would like to mount them further so that they have a border in pattern paper. So I've just taken this 6x8 paper there, and I'm going to again do exactly the same, stick them on to there, and then fussy cut them out with scissors. It just gave the photos a little separation. They needed the white border, I felt, and then it's given a little bit of separation from the rest of the patterns by having the border and then having the yellow border as well. It just looks lovely. And then I distress the edges of those as well, just to again disguise my wonky cut lines, which are never perfect when I use scissors. And then I'm ready to stick my photos onto the layout. Just adding a little bit of pink ink around the edges of my smaller hexagons. I'm not sure if I do the big one as well, but that just gave them a little bit more definition. So it works in the same kind of way as mounting something on white card. This has just made my edges slightly darker because it's gingham. You have some parts that are pink and you have some parts that are white, so therefore it doesn't read as a solid edge, and therefore having that pink ink around the edge gives it that definition. So that's what I did there. I haven't done it for the big one, only the three smaller ones, and you can see that I'm skipped forward to now to sticking them all in place and getting the embellishment started. So I've got my two photos in place, mounted. I've got my hexagons all stuck in place. I'm now just adding in some embellishments. So I've pulled out some florals from the floral ephemera, floral bits and pieces, and then I've got the regular bits and pieces pack as well. So I'm putting out little phrases and words from there, and the page pieces as well. I love the page pieces. This is a very small pack of ephemera, really easy to use. It normally has a big title in, so got that big word beauty there, although I don't end up using it on this layout. I love the ampersand sign. It's a floral pattern on the ampersand, so therefore it doesn't show up particularly well against my gingham paper where it's going to sit. So I've just spending a bit of time putting a narrow border, doodled border around the edge to give it a little bit more definition. It shows up much better now that it has that border on it. So I'm going to get that stuck in place. Do I raise it on foam pads? It sounds like it's something I would normally do. Yeah, I'm going to raise it up on foam pads. I've already got the butterfly in place. I've got a number of floral bits in place, layered behind photos, just tucked into wherever they work best, really. Yeah, it's all looking lovely. this collection has been, lovely to work with. It really does take me back to My Mind's Eye style. I used to love My Mind's Eye back in the day. So it's lovely that they've come back and done a collaboration with Simple Stories, because it gets their patterns and products back out on the shelves without them having to run lines themselves, I suppose. I don't know what the reason for the collaboration is, but it's great that they've done it. I don't think My Mind's Eye have produced a scrapbook collection for quite some time. I believe they still do fabrics, although I'm not 100% sure on that. But it's wonderful that they are using Simple Stories to get these patterns back out there, because it really is lovely, really, really lovely. So yeah, it's taken me back to my past for sure. Right, so just popping a little label underneath the one of the folds of the hexagons there, and gives me a little place to add some journaling too if I want to, although I might journal elsewhere, like onto the white background for example, but that little label is ideal. I love this folded hexagons design, because that way you can tuck bits in, things can poke out from underneath the folds, and I just think it's really pretty. I love layouts like this anyway, because they're so textured, and that just makes me happy. So lots of texture, lots of dimension, and looking lovely. So okay, so all of my bits and pieces are kind of in place now, really. I'm just going to make sure everything is stuck down properly, putting foam pads underneath things that I've already tucked into place, just securing those. I normally put them in first. Quite often I don't even stick them, I just place them, and then I come back later and I just pop foam pads underneath them to make sure they stay in place and have some dimension too. Okay, so just looking at some of the other embellishments that I have in the collection to use, and decided to use the decorative brad. So one of my favourite go-to things in a collection. I always enjoy using them. So I'm putting them in the middle of all the hexagons or the stars. So I've got a big one in the centre of the large element, and then smaller ones in the middles of the others. Yeah, that's looking lovely. I love how that kind of finishes it off. That middle one is going to struggle against all of those folds that are folding up. So I'm just trying to figure out how best to deal with that. I'm not at home while I'm filming this, so I didn't have my hot glue gun with me, which would have been my first choice and would definitely have held it in place. So I may have to use some glossy accents, or I might just see how it fares, and if it falls off then use the glue gun when I get home. So yeah, looking good. I'm liking how everything is looking. It's coming together quite nicely, nearly done. And I just felt that the background needed a little bit of something on the edges, perhaps a border, but it was a bit too, the design was a bit too big to then trim off some of the white and then stick it on a border. So instead of doing that, I've cut some strips of gingham paper. Gingham is my favourite, and I've just cut out or distressed the edges of the layout in a couple of places and folded it back a little bit and then stuck the strips behind it, so that I've got a little bit of interest on the edges without a full border, but it definitely worked as far as I was concerned. I was happy with how that looked. And I've just written my journaling onto that little label, as I thought I might do, and then I'm pretty much done. I just wanted to add some splatters of ink or paint, and decided to go for the pink that I used to edge the edges of my hexagons. So it's a distress oxide, and I just put it onto a piece of craft sheet and added water, and then I was able to add splatters that way. There we go. Sorry for the terribly overexposed photo. Goodness knows what's happened, and the original is gone, so I can't even redo it. But the square photo isn't great, but the close-ups are lovely, so you can see the colours much better there. All right, so thank you so very much for joining me today. Sorry this video has taken a while to come out, since I actually made and released the layout a while back, but life is busy. So thank you so much for joining me today. That was Nikki Rowland for Simple Stories.